What's a technology that's nearly obsolete yet you still use and hold dearly? Film photography. Although it has had an upswing in the past years, which is nice. I have a number of cameras I love. My most prized possession is a Hasselblad 500C from the mid-60s. I don't remember exact year, with 4 Carl Zeiss lenses, 3 of them from the 60s, 1 newer from the 80s. My number 2, which is my number 1 camera for portraits, is a Pentax 67. That thing is a tank, and the 6x7 format is perfect for portrait photography. I wish I could show some photographs I've shot with them, but I wish to keep this account reasonably private. Traditional watches, by which I mean, not smart watches. It's one of the only pieces of jewelry that men can wear. Physical media in general. I like honing my stuff and not being at the mercy of some rights holder saying that a streaming service can't play their stuff anymore. Incandescent Christmas lights. For regular lighting, give me LED bulbs all day long. But there's something magic about a good old-fashioned string of mini lights and the warm glow instead of that sharp look of LEDs. Vacuum tube valve amps. Just 'cause. Vacuum tube guitar amps. Digital amp sims, everything in that realm, has come so far in the last 10 years. IDGAF, I love my tubes. Not saying I could pick them apart in a blind comparison, or that a digital rig doesn't offer a ton of versatility in a small affordable package. I've been playing for 20 years, and the shit that's come out lately and how good it sounds is truly remarkable. But still, always gonna rock some tube amps. Sailing. There's nothing quite as magical as ghosting along at 5 knots, in 12 knots of wind, and the loudest noise being the flag waving in the wind. Of course, the wind is rarely coming from the correct direction, which seems to mean the best you can do is travel 45 degrees away from where you want to go. Teresa, reason why sailors drink a lot. My phone is an X-Cover Pro. I bought it because you can pop the back off and swap batteries out. Then I got extra batteries and a charger for the batteries. I never have to charge the actual phone. It's the only newer phone that still does that. If I could only find a phone with a keyboard like my old BlackBerry. Alas, was already obsolete when I was young, but once I rediscovered vinyls for music in the 2000s, and since then I actually really like the sound quality they provide. OFC, it's for my home only, and I also use MP3s for endless music playback, but some of my favorite songs and artists I get their vinyls. Old school dumb washer and dryer. A set of Kenmore washer and dryer from the mid-2000s came with my house, and I fixed both for less than $30 total when they broke. I plan on continuing to fix them for as long as possible. I've heard nothing but nightmares from newer washing machines. The Nintendo 3DS. Its clamshell design makes it very nice for watching YouTube at night. However, more and more videos are becoming unwatchable due to either the 032-2901 error or due to YouTube changing things behind the scenes. In short order, the 3DS will no longer work. My paper train tickets and subway metro card. I won't use my smartphone. Tangible paper tickets give me free rides if the conductor fails to come through and collect them that day. And I can do without a ton of daily charges to my Visa statement every time I use a subway. Wired peripherals, keyboards, mouse, speakers, etc. I don't deny wireless stuff has come a long way, but I also can't deny the only reason I changed my 6-7-year-old stuff was simply because I wanted something that looked more fancy, since all of them still work perfectly. I own a sickle. Not a grass knife, a real, antique sickle, made by a village blacksmith in a town in Wisconsin, back when village blacksmith was still a thing that existed in towns in Wisconsin. That thing is awesome. Gardening goes so much better now that I have it. Standalone GPS unit for long road trips. In my day-to-day life I use Waze or Google Maps, but in a long trip over 200 miles, I like to throw my old Garmin Nuvia on the windshield. It doesn't rely on cell connection or do anything but show me maps and navigate. Bluetooth earbuds that are attached. Bought 2 extra Bose Sense ports last year because I saw the writing on the wall. Seriously, how many earbud halves have you lost? X200B. Honorable mention is Touch ID. But Apple will force my hand here sooner or later. I hate push to start cars. Put the key in the ignition. Crank it to get the engine running. Shift into drive and speed off. I'm not a car guy by any means, but the feeling of physically getting the car running is satisfying as hell to me for some reason. Pocket calculator. Also my BBC Micro Model B128K complete with a 3.5 floppy disk drive. I keep it operational just to play the classic 1988 game Exile, which needs to be played on original hardware as the emulator is not the same experience. A pen and mini notepad. I have some nice pens that I really like, and a small leather notepad with a magnetic flap that I keep in my back pocket. I'll carry my Quebec Lilliput fountain pen with an extra fine tip printed books. They never need to be charged, aren't subject to being connected to the interwebs, and just feel good to hold. And I can go to sleep as soon as I get done reading, none of the blue-white screen insomnia. My landline phone. Living in a rural, wildfire area with zero cell service means it is my only notification of an evacuation. I never thought I would happily be paying for a landline in 2023, but here we are. Compass and map. You just learn much more about a region when you navigate your hike with map and compass. A GPS will just give you all the info without you having to keep a close eye on the surroundings. I still buy movies on DVD. Granted, there aren't that many out there that I want to get, but I prefer the hard copies to streaming. My son has a gaming system that also plays movie CDs. He loves it. It's already obsolete, but I still have floppy disk and a reader for them. They have old childhood memories on them, and I've already transferred it onto the cloud, so if they break I still have the data. Planning my woodworking projects using graph paper and a mechanical pencil. I've tried SketchUp and other CAD software, but nothing beats the tactile and warm feeling I get working up plans by hand. The Toyota 1GR Fay engine. Pretty sure I likely am the owner of one of the last gen of 4Runners that will use it. It gets terrible gas mileage, but is one of the most reliable engines ever created. Not sure if that counts as obsolete, but I much prefer reading the time on a dial as opposed to digital. Actually, any physical quantity I prefer to read on dials, especially a vehicle's speed. Physical media. Vinyl, CDs, video games, DVDs, etc. Servers can crash, data gets lost, things removed from streaming. It's best to have a backup. Heck, I've got 5 LPs that aren't on Spotify. DVDs. I refuse to let an online library remove my shows and movies from their collection after I've already paid for them. And if I lose access to the account, I'll have to buy them all again. My valve radio, which uses Mullard valves. It's a beautiful machine with a rich tone. I can tune into shortwave and listen to some great stations. Difficult to obtain new valves if one blows. Analog clock, preferably with 24 or Westminster chimes. I find great comfort from the ticking and chimes, especially late at night. Reminds me of spending the night at my granny's house. I love my mechanical watch. They're not as accurate. Need to pull out the crown and update for daylight savings standard time. Need to wind the date to skip the months without 30 days. My black rotary phone from the late 40s that works. It makes me feel so cool using it. The cord is about 40 feet long, not an exaggeration, so you can walk around the house with it. I still use a big ol' 120W 4x12 half-stack tube amp when I play live with my band, but getting into my mid-50s. I am looking at amp simulators that just hook directly into the PA. White gas Coleman lanterns. I understand we have better and more convenient sources of light now, but nothing is quite as enjoyable as working on and using older Coleman lanterns. DVDs box sets. I have many of my favorite TV series on DVDs. I love the fact that I can just pop the disc in and watch without having to worry that it will become unavailable. Fashion has moved on, but I much prefer the around-the-neck style of Bluetooth headphones to earbuds. Better battery life, and it's almost invisible under the collar of the shirt. I have an antique 7-day clock that keeps perfect time provided I remember to wind it. It gives me a sense of history to know my grandfather wounded every Sunday just as I do. Fountain pens. There is something calming to the soul. It makes you slow down and think about what you're writing, and the myriad ink colors available always make me happy. DVDs. My own mom thinks it's weird. I still have them and continue to buy them. When there's always Netflix. Yes, but there's never what I actually am trying to look for. A woodworker's workbench. Basically unchanged for at least 200 years. Brick masonry and cobblestone streets. Cooking. Potato and veg are still cooked the same basic way as an adult. Pencils. I prefer to physically write things even though I make a lot of mistakes, hence why I like pencils over pens. Hey, they were technology at one point. Bakelite fixtures. Mostly because we never replaced them in my bedroom and I've grown to love mid-century tech, so it worked out in the end. Everything got rewired though. It's more what isn't obsolete that I'm not using, but I cannot get myself to set up Apple Pay, and every time I try something happens during the process and I just give up. Aux cables. I know it's probably neater to use the Bluetooth in my car for playing music connected to my phone or iPod, but for some reason I prefer the aux cable. I have a butter churn. I prefer to make butter at home. Fresh buttermilk for pancakes and other stuff. Nice soft butter that isn't salted, or have palm oil mixed in. Mechanical watches. I have a smartwatch I use for workouts, but there's something about the engineering and sweeping second hand of mechanical watches that I love. I recently hauled out my old slide rule to show my son-in-law and we spent 20 minutes working some simple examples. After that I dug out my circular slide rule. Every other parent seems to be recording games on their phones or iPads. Meanwhile, I have an actual SD card video camera on a tripod, looking decades behind. Winamp MP3s and lossless audio. Fuck streaming services and the insanely bad quality. I'd rather stab my brain with a Q-tip than listen to anything via Spotify. Fuck all y'all. I'm going to keep my late 90s stereo component stereo system, with phonograph, 5-disc CD changer, tape deck, equalizer, and big honkin' speakers. Analog buttons and knobs in cars. They make me feel like a pilot, plus try using a touch screen when it's 35 outside and you're wearing 2 beaver pelts as gloves. iPhone 7, it'll stop getting updates anytime now and be useless, but I don't want a newer or bigger phone. I'd be carrying the 5 if it was still supported. Vernier calipers. I can't stand digital ones as they always seem to be flat when people go to use them and I don't trust that they're back to zero. Beam torque wrench. I like to see how much torque I'm putting on. I'm usually too scared of stripping the bolt to go all in until the click. I have a rotary phone. It works just fine. I like the tactile sensation of holding a phone. I really like the old school bell ringing.